Hi everyone, my name is Kenny.
I'm 24. Saya Gen Z.
Dan saya Gen Z.
Dan hari ini kita akan bertanyakan soalan kepada Yang Mulia Tengku Zafrul.
Okey, salam semua. Saya Tengku Zafrul, saya Pengerusi MIDA, Presiden BAM dan juga penasihat kanan politik kepada Yang Amat Perdana Menteri. Saya juga ingin mengucapkan selamat Hari Bangsa kepada semua dan selamat menonton pada hari ini Gen Z Tanya TV.
So that's great. You transition from a corporate banker background into the government. So I think that's a question where a lot of Gen Z feel curious about for those that who wanna aspire to get into the public sector. So what was the largest cultural shock when you change from making the decision in the boardroom to making the decision that will affect the country?
Yeah, well, it was a big shift, from corporate or in this case private sector to public sector. And in life you always have to be ready for changes. But what we cannot expect is, to me, you cannot really prepare for it. But so you need to be prepared in terms of your mindset. That means, like I said, in life there are always new challenges that you have to face, but you must be ready to adjust. So for me, I've been lucky because when I moved from private sector to public sector, I had a good team that supported me in both private and public, and they helped me adjust as well. So macam dekat di public sector tu, in government, so they understood where I'm coming from, and I also understood where they are coming from, because the expectation were different in terms of stakeholder management and also performance delivery. So in a way, you have to have this open mindset that things are not going to be the same. Tapi kalau macam katakan you are coming from public sector, private sector, going public sector, you expect the summer, then cannot lah. So you need to say, okay, this is going to be different. So how do I adapt to make sure that the skill set that I gained during my years in private sector can be applied in public sector, but the things that I don't know about public sector, I learn. This is where I think it's important to have that open mindset. You cannot say, oh, I know everything, so I want to impose it on the public sector. Then it's difficult lah. And of course, public sector also, they also actually welcome you if you have value to add. And they will say that, because they will think, what's your experience masa kat private sector? How do you help us in the public sector using that experience? And we try and complement. So at least ada diversity in terms of how we come up with policies, how we, more importantly, execute those policies. So I did, work closely with the team in the public sector and use some of the experience I have in the private sector.
If I may follow up a bit, that's great. So, in banking, we are trained to look at the risk, the capital allocation, or the ROI. So when you are managing a country, so what kind of outcome are we looking for? Is it like talents, the FDI, the GDP, or any other?
Well, we also look at risk, of course. Yeah, when we make a decision on policies, when I was Minister of Finance and when I was MITI, always have to look at what are the risks when you have a policy that especially affect the people, right? And sometimes the industries, the companies as well. So definitely have to look at risks. And then look at ROI also. I mean, what is our ROI? Of course, our ROI can be in the form of, how many companies can we help in terms of people, whether we can increase the wages, the salary of people, and then if we look at into skill sets, we can up and raise the skill set of our people. So these are the ROI. It doesn't have to be monetary. Of course, it can be also monetary, like the GDP and all that, right? Investment numbers. But at the end of the day, it has to be, a spillover that affects everyone lah. So that would be our KPI, making sure that every stakeholder benefits: the people, the companies, be it small or big, the economy, of course, and making sure that try and get as many people as possible benefiting from that policy. Or not, sometimes policy benefit group A, but dia tak benefit group B. And then that's why in the world today, there's a lot of views about whether the economic growth that we achieve, kan kita baru-baru ni achieve 6% growth, but People on the ground say, I don't feel it. Kan?
Yeah.
So, but then it depends who you talk to lah. Some people say, I feel it, but majority may not feel it. Why? So this is where I think the policy has to be targeted towards ensuring that spillover is as even as possible. Not easy, because raising the ceiling is one thing, but raising the floor is very difficult if we don't have the right policy in place. It will take time also, because the world is built such a way lah.
So most importantly, the sustainability of the policy.
No, it's basically whether sustainability policy is important, but the policy has to also change, right? So policy has to adapt to the current current challenges that the world face, right? Today, for example, a policy on diesel or policy on fuel, how do we make sure that we as a country don't burden the people too much, despite what's happening in Hormuz, where the price of oil has gone up? Do we pass it through, right? Because last time we sometimes think about, making the market free to determine the price of oil, but I think we can't, because people don't have. And for us, Malaysia got quite some structural issues which you need to resolve. A structural issue takes time. For example, salary. People's salary are not growing as fast as the economy even, right? So even if you look at the contribution of salary to profit or salary to GDP is very low, with 34% compared to other countries. So these are the things we need to do. But if you ask your bank, for example, or your company or SOE, because in their mindset, 70% must go to the owner, 30% goes to the. But it's arguable that in this world today, if you do that, then people will not be able to meet the level of standard of living they want.
Agree.
So this is where I think capital owners also have to play their part, right? But at the same time, we understand lah, kalau macam you baru start company tu, so you don't have money, maybe you don't even make money. Then suddenly you nak pay high, then tak boleh lah pula. Tapi kalau you dah reach at that level, yang dah, to be fair, stable, and this is, you cannot lah be too greedy, you kena bagi some back tu ni. But unfortunately, we cannot force it. But we can do incentives and all that, but we haven't gone to that stage yet lah. But JLC dah kena paksa lah. Bukan paksa lah. Morally to give living wage, for example, instead of minimum wage. Right? So this is something that we need to look at lah.
I think saya kira yang kedua punya, tapi discussion dia into economic is really interesting. Cuma saya punya soalan ni based on you punya lifestyle lah, betul saya. Sebab we know masa you memang too pack dan macam mana you balance between you punya workout, you punya activities. Sebab ramai yang, saya masih ingat lagi bila Dato' Sri kat luar negara tapi still sempat berjogging, pergi gym. So how you manage that?
Yeah. Dia, first of all, dia mesti very clear that what you want to do in your target lah. Macam gym ataupun running for me kan. Dia, because kalau I be honest with you lah, kalau tak ada target tu kadang susah juga. What do I mean by target? Macam I'm going to run a marathon. So you kena train. Macam I'm going to do high rocks in December. So kena lah pergi gym to train. So kalau dia tak ada target, dia macam tak ada exam lah. Kalau tak ada exam, dia tak belajar. Betul tak? I mean, lah. Mungkin some of you, maybe you all ni semua nerd semua, macam lain lah. Tapi orang biasa, dia tak ada insentif lah. So sama juga dengan kerja. What is your target in your work? What is your target in life as well, right? So when you have a target, you tend to have a plan. And then the other problem, bila you ada plan, are you going to follow the plan? Because, because the hardest part, macam running pula, I give you an example running. They always tell me, it's okay. You just, in your mind, you're just going to run 5 minutes. But once you go out there, you dah ready nak run, you takkan run 5 minit. You're going to run at least half an hour, right? Because you dah keluar. It's to my point is the hardest part is to start. So once you start, and then you will do it. So sama juga dengan jadual ni. So you just need to have a fixed schedule. You don't, okay, this is very important lah to me. For me personally, I have a schedule that I try to follow. Kalau tak ada schedule lagi susah. You tak boleh macam, okay, tomorrow this lah, I buat ni, tak boleh. You kena buat the schedule and follow. Once you go there, it becomes a habit that if you don't follow, you macam rasa tak senang. So this is where I think it's important that you discipline yourself in time. Because kalau tidak, your timing tu penting. You won't have enough time. Like you said lah, susah nak cari time tu, and then selalu ada excuse. Oh, So you kena pandai lah, make sure that
Ada sikit tambahan lah. For example, mungkin kalau golongan pula yang B40 dan ke bawah atau mereka yang mungkin kais pagi makan pagi, bagi Datuk Sri, adakah mereka ini dikatakan berpeluang untuk mendapatkan, okey, maafkan saya, soalan dia adalah adakah situasi pada hari ini untuk B40 ini, is it a good life work balance untuk diorang?
kalau kita lihat, there's B40, M40, 20, semua ada challenges masing-masing lah. Yeah. And juga where they are in terms of kedudukan mereka dalam in this work environment. Kalau dia bekerja sendiri, there's a different challenge, but they have some flexibility over timing. Macam especially kalau yang gig worker semua. Tapi kalau you kerja dengan ada employee katakan you working for this lady ke, mungkin dia
How they need to.
this lady kata, oh tak boleh balik kena mati dia. So dia tak ada flexibility of time. So and then especially when you are, you know, because B40 it doesn't matter at what level you are. You could be junior ke senior, tapi dia, I mean they not level, what sectors you are kan. So sometimes it requires kerja malam, sometimes kerja pagi, sometimes like you say lah, you know, very strict. So this is where I think the three things that is important. One is, you know, you can always find excuses lah, senang. Saya ni tak ada masa, ataupun saya ni tak ada pendapatan tinggi, jadi tak boleh buat ni semua. So to me, you need to pastikan yang kita, apa target kita dalam hidup kita. So di B40 ni, group ni, do you want to be M40? Or do you want, what is your group? Your target is to help your family. Especially kalau junior, kalau young guy, surely you don't want to be in B40 category forever. Kan? So you want to move up, you know, because you start at a certain level, junior executive ke, kan? Ataupun even kalau kita support staff, dia boleh buat diploma nak naik kepada executive. So you need to have that target. So you tak boleh jadi excuse macam, kat sini I stay here lah, I tak boleh naik lah. So tak boleh. So I've seen some of them tak ada degree pun, ataupun start dengan B40 dah jadi T1, right? So there is no such thing as simple, especially when you're Gen Z lah. Because you are still young. Kalau you dah macam I, mungkin you are a bit more pessimistic lah. Because you running out of time and then you kena ni. Secondly is sometimes commitment. So kalau you you're in your mid-30s ni, early 40s, kadang-kadang you ada family. So that's another thing. Your risk taking tu kurang. Tak kisahlah B40 ke M40 ke, because you nak make sure that apa you buat tu you kena fikir about your family, your wife, your children. So this is again balance macam you all ni tak kahwin lagi lah? Belum. Girlfriend? Yelah, tapi tak bayar dia apa-apa kan? Tak bayar. So okay lah. Tu janganlah, kahwin pun. So what I'm saying is that, so commitment tu tak ada. Jadi kalau you ada, you kena fikir, nak ambil risiko ni ke tak? Ataupun nak buat ni. So jadi, this is where I think, like you say lah, the trade-off. And then the others, the final one is sometimes you are, tak nak macam, I'm more fortunate lah, because, you know, bila I graduate tu, masa terus dapat kerja. So some of them tak dapat kerja. Dan pada masa sama, setengah tu nak buat macam you all lah, mungkin nak buat postgrad, nak buat. So you also, I mean, at this young age, you need to also know that whether you want to do something on your own, or do you want to work for somebody, or you want to pursue your studies lah. Tu kena, at this young age, you kena decide awal lah.
Okay, kalau saya boleh sambung daripada segi graduan baru habis belajar apa semua tu kan. Kementerian kadang tu dia selalu mengumumkan investment yang banyak lah daripada segi AI ke, daripada segi teknologi hijau ke, semua tu lah. Jadi berapa lama masa yang diperlukan, ataupun masa yang akhirnya sampai pada kami graduan baru untuk rasa peningkatan gaji tu?
Okay, dia macam ni. Sekarang ni saya pun sebagai pengerusi MIDA, kita dah cuba tukarkan KPI kita. Bukan saja kepada jumlah pelaburan yang masuk. It's not just the absolute number, 1 billion ke 2 billion ke 10 billion ke. It's more about, so how many jobs you create. Apa pekerjaan yang dicipta. Dan dari segi pekerjaan yang dicipta, pekerjaan itu adakah pekerjaan yang bermaruah? I mean, is it a job yang people, because you katakan your degree, but some of them dapat kerja tapi bukan kerja yang dia nak. So that's talk about underemployment. Satu lagi, kerja tu, adakah kerja tu gaji yang bermaruah lah, ataupun is it very pay. Kalau you engineer, you tak nak jadi technician, tapi yang pekerjaan you dapat technician bukan engineering job, tak cukup. So we need to make sure that kita measure juga bila pelaburan tu masuk, pekerjaan apa yang dicipta and gaji apa yang diberi, kan. So we don't want pekerjaan di situ semua gaji minimum je, kan. So this is another KPI, so that bila pelaburan masuk tu kita akan pastikan pelaburan yang economic complexity tinggi, because usually kalau economic complexity tinggi, gaji pun lebih tinggi lah. Ya. Dan ketiga ialah kita kena pastikan yang for kita punya ni, kalau pelaburan tu masuk, berapa syarikat tempatan yang terlibat. Because syarikat tempatan terlibat tu juga akan cipta pekerjaan. Right? So we don't want investment to come in, semua ni, lepas tu dia bawa tapi dia export everything, ataupun dia bawa semua supply chain tu daripada luar negara. So dia tak buat penciptaan kerja untuk rakyat Malaysia ataupun syarikat kita yang dapat, supaya they can grow and bigger and employ more people and be more advanced lah in their technology. So dia tukar mindset, like you said, berapa billion. So that's why dalam NIMP tu dia fokus juga kepada economic complexity, kepada gaji dan sebagainya. So we can see every year dia naik, right? But again, problem kita is not, cannot look at the isolation, you cakap tadi. Kalau gaji naik, tapi kalau harga barang lagi naik lagi cepat, macam mana? So it's not easy. Harga barang naik, kita tak boleh control, because dalam dunia ni kita negara yang terbuka. So kalau harga minyak naik, walaupun kita boleh kontrol harga minyak di Malaysia, tapi harga barangan lain akan naik, because harga barang minyak ni digunakan untuk semua produk. Every product requires ni. So when you import that stuff, harga barang naik. Kopi pun, beef, baja, semua ni datang daripada
Genting nak turun.
Exactly. So this is where I think there's certain things we need to also adapt lah.
Tu bila saya tengok dia punya planning untuk NIMP tu, median manufacturer salary dia 4,500 kan.
We want to jadi
tinggi lah maknanya.
Tinggi. Tapi kalau kita tengok sekarang, macam your sector, your in services sector, especially financial services, is much higher than manufacturing sector, the median. So that's why we're saying that kita kena naikkan manufacturing. Dalam sektor pembuatan ni, sektor perkilangan atau manufacturing sector ni, gaji lebih rendah daripada perkhidmatan, urban services. So this is where we are telling the companies, you got to pay more lah. Right? Tak boleh macam ni. So but at the same time, masalah utama gaji kita, kalau kita tengok laporan bank negara semua tu, pasal kita membenarkan pekerja asing masuk. So when pekerja asing masuk, dia tak ada pressure nak increase salary, because they can get cheap labour. Satu. Kedua is they don't invest in technology. So you don't invest in technology, you use low-end technology. Of course, low-end technology, low salary. So you move up to automation ataupun AI dan sebagainya, then you need more qualified people to manage the technology. Then you pay out more. Then you don't use foreign workers. Tapi sometimes, syarikat kata tak boleh. So kita kena firm lah. So SME, sorry, kat Malaysia ni, SME employ nearly 50% of our workforce, ramai. SME lah yang ni. Kalau syarikat besar dia banyak big players dia okay. They don't employ as many, cuma because they don't have as many syarikat, cuma yang banyak SME ni yang mungkin terlalu berkebergantungan or dependency on foreign labour is too high. And that's why kalau kita tengok our productivity of our SME is now lower, lebih rendah daripada Vietnam dan Thailand. Ini laporan daripada semua lah, bank negara pun ada buat laporan.
So my question is about, I think Dato' Sri pernah dengar kan, ni buy now pay later. I think it's buy now pay later.
BPNL, very bad.
Yeah,
I
it's
hope
like
you're not
a
doing that.
lot, and then like.
Are you buying anything?
No, but that time I have two experiment about TikTok. I try to apply I have the other gaji, the other payslip. I can apply. Then they just pass me and they say, okay, you can use it.
So what do you buy?
No, I'm just practice about that time TikTok pay later. They have a promotion. They say if let's say you buy certain amount, then they can give you discount 10 ringgit. So in Dato' Sri's opinion, as the policy maker side or perspective, do you think that government or maybe bank negara they can come up some initiative or tasa-tasa yang boleh bantu the Gen Z or the youngster? Because I think nowadays they're very easy to to see that, later I can pay more. So why not, right?
Now there's more regulation. I remember when I was in Ministry of Finance, we looked at the new law for this, and I think they've passed the law to be more to protect the consumer more, right? So that is being done. But at the end of the day, it's so much. Kita kena educate juga. I say the education, the awareness tu kena ada. That BPNL ni, I mean, they are of course make it easier, tapi at the same time you can fall into the trap. Macam credit card lah dulu. Macam credit card pun kita tak sedar that credit cardnya rate is so high tau sebenarnya. You roll over. And sekarang pun we trying to make sure that personal loan, not just that one, but BNPL lagi lah senang, and a small amount kan dia bagi kan, and then but you can accumulate, and then you can ask for the same one from different. So I think only awareness, I think that's going to be key.
Yes, I think this is maybe will
not just young people, old people also believe.
Because I always see my juniors, they buy some new things, then I ask, what, like, kenapa beli kan, tiba sangat. Then
Tapi
they
biasanya dia beli apa?
Dia beli macam watch, Apple Watch lah.
Telefon banyak lah. Dia kata telefon lah.
Yeah, because they say, you buy this and then you get some promo. Murah lah sikit, dengar kata kan. Then like they say, I was like, how much you guys pay like per month? Then they say, beberapa ratus je.
Bro, di kereta tak lepas beli phone.
Ni guna PTKN bayar ke?
I think they get marah or something lah.
Dia bayar TikTok mesti dia bayar marah lagi.
I think like this one is cause the people will think that, our buying power, right, in economic terms, like buying power kuasa beli kan. It's like maybe people think, the economy bad, but we still can buy the luxury brand or like maybe anything. Yeah, I think this is the this is a phenomena. Let the people think that, we are, orang cakap je ekonomi teruk, kita ni boleh beli je. Then like you see the people pay Grab pay later, TikTok pay later, SP later, But SP later they more strict lah,
Yeah. So we have the regulations are there to make sure that the consumers are better protected. But at the end of the day, the consumer pun kena be education is important lah. Kena education kena explain lah. Financial planning semua ni kena buat. I mean education on finance. I know because even saya pun deal juga dengan, saya pun president badminton association. So we get a lot of junior players, and then sometimes they get a lot of money menang-menang, then they spend. So we need to also make sure that they know how to save up, because the future, I mean, unless you become coach ke apa, kalau dia menang banyak kadang-kadang, I mean, can menang millions also in a year. So you don't want them suddenly beli kereta, beli semua, beli ni, and then suddenly bila dah habis dah tak ada saving, because their income is very a lot of upfront kan. As you grow older, maybe your income will be less. So you kena, the financial planning ataupun financial management tu important.
So like just a follow-up question, do you in your opinion, do you think that the financial literacy should
financial literacy,
to give the awareness to the youngsters?
Important lah. Financial literacy is always, because masa kat CIMB pun, kita ada CIMB Foundation masa tu, we focus a lot on financial literacy. And I remember going down to universities giving talk on financial literacy. Yayasan CIMB banyak turun. I mean, they all go down to. In fact, we went down to UKM also. Last time I remember I was there 7 years ago lah. I was CEO CIMB 7 years ago dah lama. So we already realised, because we see the trend kan. But you have to start from young to educate that you need to make sure understand the financial impact of your spending, how do you manage. Because ramai orang take it for granted, that they will earn something, or they will never have problems, or even insurance policy semua, when you are, of course, when you have income baru you boleh beli lah package.
For my question, saya nak bawa kepada antara isu yang terkini lah, which is about laporan RCI Tabung Haji. Sekarang ni kalau kita tengok kat social media, sebenarnya Gen Z ramai masih tak faham kenapa laporan tu dikeluarkan Ogos 2022. Tapi kenapa baru release now?
Masa tahun 2020 tu kita ada buat satu pembentangan di kabinet, masa tu saya Menteri Kewangan lah. So just to update, because restructuring itu happen already, then we want to check whether, because itu dibuat oleh kerajaan sebelum ni, sama ada apa yang telah dibuat oleh Kementerian Kewangan pada masa itu adalah benda yang betul lah. So we have to check. So of course we look at some of the problems faced by Tabung Haji, and we looked at some of the things that already proposed to fix tabung haji. But at the same time, we want to also make sure that we have a independent also on top of what government view and some consultants, some audit firm view, but get a totally independent view. That's why masa Perdana Menteri ialah Tan Sri Muhyiddin pada masa tu, Cabinet decide buat RCI juga. Selepas tu RCI tu berjalan lah. Lepas tu masa Datuk Seri Ismail Sobrinya time, RCI tu complete. Dia resign, and then masa tu dia present dekat masa time dekat time Kerajaan Madani pun masa benda tu berlangsung jalan. Semua during all this, you must understand that tabung haji ni dia financial institution sebenarnya. Ya, jadi dia ada systemic risk. So dia kena fix tu dulu before you release the report. If you want to release it. Dia kena fix the problem lah. Kalau dia tak fix the problem, katakan you ada duit dalam tabung haji and you dengar tabung haji ada masalah.
Kan pula.
In fact dia dah tulis, in fact dalam perbahasan dalam parlimen dia dengar kan berapa bilion dah keluar masa tu tahun. So oleh itu dia nak make sure that benda tu tak berlaku. So bila kita release tu kita dah fix. So dari 75% isu yang patut telah diselesaikan masa kita release that timing. Tapi unfortunately the timing dekat ada election lah semua. Tapi sebenarnya it didn't help. Kalau betul-betul lah you fikir tu betul. Kalau you nak buat timing tu because election, you don't do 2 days before. Kau tak sempat nak explain pun. So it's just the timing is coincidental dengan election Negeri Sembilan lah.
Untuk Gen Z faham di situation, but tadi pun you tak faham kan apa tu RCI tabung haji, what is the case. So one of the thing yang kita nak clarify untuk Gen Z is about macam mana, what is creative accounting. And kenapa rugi 1.4 bilion tapi dikatakan ada profit sebanyak 3.4 bilion. What is RAV? So what are these terms?
Ya, RAV is realizable asset value lah. Dia basically macam ni, dia I give analogy lah. Basically creative ni you understand lah, dia a diplomatic word of menipu lah. You are creative tapi sebenarnya you are doing something that is wrong lah. So kita tahu 1 campur 1 2, tapi dalam tu kita buat macam 1 campur 1 tu jadi 3. So dia exact je. Banyak creative accounting sebenarnya melibatkan kadang-kadang menipu daripada segi invoice kan. Dia kata dia buat bisnes sampai RM100 sebulan, tapi sebenarnya RM50 je. So kalau dia buat RM100 sebulan, jadi value syarikat tu lebih besar lah pasal dia menunjukkan hasil yang lebih tinggi, walaupun sebenarnya dia hanya jual barang RM50 je, tapi dia kata dia jual RM100. Dia banyak kadang-kadang bursa berkuri. So sama juga dengan pelaburan. So pelaburan RAV ni dia menunjukkan value of that investment. So kita ada tabung haji buat banyak pelaburan, kerana pelaburan tu digunakan untuk mendapatkan keuntungan atau dari segi ni hibah lah. I mean because they syariah compliant, they look at the return untuk penyimpan tabung haji lah. Kalau dia simpan duit, dapat return, dan insyaAllah when their turn to go for haji in this case, they can use that money. So what has happened is investment tu sebenarnya dia masuk dalam invest company A, company B, yang saya kata sampai 7 syarikat sampai ke kosong RAV dia. So dia invest, tapi katakan dia invest dalam syarikat A tu 10 juta. Lepas tu dalam masa 2-3 tahun atau dalam masa beberapa tahun, investment tu jadi 1 juta. So dia dah lose 9 juta. Ya, tapi dia kreatif accounting ni, dia kata tak ada syarikat ni masih lagi 10 juta, ataupun mungkin dia kata 11 juta. Dah ada keuntungan lagi. Dia kena ada keuntungan. Kalau nak bayar hibah tu, ya, kena ada keuntungan. You need to have return to pay dividend in this case, profit sharing with the contributors. Jadi benda tu berlaku, of course rakyat ataupun penyimpan apa je pilihan dapat duit apa kan. Tapi so kerajaan kena pastikan yang tabung haji betul-betul ada dana untuk bagi that return. So what has happened is when they found out benda tu creative accounting ni menyebabkan ada penipuan besar lah in this case. So we have to fix it, right? Macam mana nak fix? Takkan nak kita minta balik return ni, takkan ataupun tabung haji ni because it's systemic risk. Kalau tabung haji financial tu semua akan jatuh, semua lain. Because what happen is dia pelaburan tau. So you letak RM10 katakan dalam tabung haji. Bila you tahu your RM10 tinggal RM1, you akan tarik RM1 tu. You tak nak hilang semua. So bila you taruh RM1 tu, apa akan jadi kepada tabung haji? So tabung haji terpaksa jual lagi pelaburan-pelaburan lain yang mungkin untung. Kan there's some investment macam plantation, some investment making money. Tapi because you take out the money, they have to sell to pay you. Kan katakan you dah masuk RM10, lepas tu you nak balik RM10 tu, macam mana tabung haji nak bagi RM10 tu balik? Dia kena jual aset yang dia ada. Aset yang bagus yang dia ada. Kan jadi apa yang berlaku ialah Kementerian Kewangan masa tu ataupun syarikat dalam yang dibuat special purpose vehicle tu dia beli aset tabung haji ni supaya at least tabung haji ada duit. Dan dia beli pada harga yang lebih tinggi daripada so that dia dapat selamatkan tabung haji. So this is what has happened. Tapi semua ni dalam corporate exercise ni dah siap, dah clear all this issue, then only I think kita nak take action lah. Itu yang dibuat itu. Sekarang kita biar pada pihak berkuasa untuk menilai lah siapa yang bertanggungjawab. Adakah betul kesalahan itu berlaku, adakah itu kesalahan yang berbentuk kriminal ataupun kesalahan kadang-kadang
Silapan dia.
management pun kadang-kadang ada decision yang kesalah kan. Tak semestinya. Pelaburan pun ada juga yang pelaburan yang ditipu macam ada atau baca tak yang
Betul
pasal
lah, yang
e-fishery.
ikan tu.
E-fishery.
Itu Perdana Menteri yang sering ketipu.
Semua kena, Temasek kena, Abu Dhabi kena, Softbank kena, kita pun kena. Tapi saya rasa nak salahkan kita pun semua bersalah. Semua takkan yang lagi-lagi besar tu katakan dia orang lagi besar. So memang kena tipu. Or in fact that guy is in jail. Yang the fishery punya ni. So kena tengok secara objektif. So I don't want to mengulas sangat kalau ada kesalahan yang melibatkan pegawai-pegawai yang ni ataupun sampailah ke lembaga pengarah. Cuma kita biar pihak berkuasa untuk menilai lah.
So as we know, like talent is one of the important assets
Talent,
to our country.
yes,
And I think
Most important.
Dato Sri also mentioned in another interview. So as the person who almost grad, and then we always heard the people will say, oh no, pergilah kerja kat Singapore. The ringgit, the value is high. Then opportunities a lot. So in your opinion, how's the country can play the role to attract back our talent?
Yalah.
Because
Okay.
I think Dato Sri also say that our country is like connect with many blocks of the economics, right?
Yeah. Macam ni lah. Kita pun tak nak bagi jawapan yang idealistic. Betul tak?
Bintang lah.
Because kita pun dulu student, walaupun dah lama. So masa saya di student di UK pun, sebelum saya balik, I would not lie to say that I didn't look for a job there. Because at the end of the day, satu is exposure. You nak exposure yang lain. Kan, betul tak? Sama juga kalau you belajar kat Malaysia, you mungkin nak exposure yang ke luar negeri. Kan, it doesn't matter, right? Because they're different. Kalau ada peluang. Kan? And then gaji pun, tengoklah kalau unless you pergi ke Indonesia. Tapi kalau you pergi ke Singapore, so, and they are looking at our fresh grad from Malaysia. To be fair, I know because masa I kerja dekat CMB pun sometimes I know we are being the top talent in Malaysia is taken by Singapore, even by Taiwan from some of the engineers kan. Sekarang pun, right? So tak boleh salahkan. So first of all, we cannot menyalahkan our students if they want to go overseas. Kadang-kadang ada orang cakap, oh ni tak ada semangat patriotik kan. Betul tak? But to me, we have to be fair to that person. Right? Kalau ada pekerjaan tu di Malaysia, peluang tu, yes, then we say, look, please try. Tapi kalau tak ada peluang pekerjaan tu atau menggaji dia lebih banyak, we should let them go because I strongly feel that hopefully one day they will come back with that experience and all that because kalau family ni usually the roots is still here. Dia nak jaga mak ke, jaga bapak ke ataupun dia dah kahwin dia nak settle down because here is still good. For family punya ecosystem tu still strong. Maybe you was single tu you more mobile kan, so you boleh pergi. So that's number one. Number two, I think kita pun as government and also companies as industry, they need to invest so that they create the jobs yang people nak. Kadang-kadang problem kita, dia dah sampai ke tahap macam even financial services tau, dia dah tahan sampai tu tapi dia nak pergi buat benda lain, bank tu tak ada. Foreign bank tu ada. So dia nak expose dia macam engineering juga atau scientist kan, dia nak tengok kerjaan tu tak ada kat Malaysia. So dia dah sampai tahap yang dia nak go the next level, that job tak ada. So dia akan pergilah ke US, kepada. So we as companies, we as government and companies also need to make sure you continue to invest so that the jobs is there for people who wants to go up. So or not, you dah sampai that level, you nak pergi dah tak ada kerja tu kan. So you pergilah tempat lain, so you nak challenge yourself. And finally, I think we need to also make sure that for us lah, for the young people, dia kena pastikan yang we explain to them the career path. You know, kadang-kadang tak clear. Dia akan kadang-kadang dia buat kesilapan, dia pergi sana, and then baru dia nak, then dia kata, lagi teruk. Well, ada juga our friends dulu, I remember my batch pun ada yang pergi, then sampai balik. So we need to give career guidance lah, kena explain, okay, you pergi sini, kalau nak pengalaman, tapi kalau pekerjaan ni ada kat sini, why do you? Like financial services now, for entry level, Malaysia is very good already. In terms of exposure. Yeah, it's quite good. Tapi some sectors, some people argue lah, macam biotech, macam ada kan, biotech dia mungkin peluang pekerjaan tu sampai tahap tu bila dah di senior tu kurang.
Berkenaan dengan prestasi atlet-atlet daripada WM lah, dengan isu daripada segi nak pergi profesionalnya apa semua tu. Jadi apa kalau macam saya boleh tanya direct kepada Datuk Seri, usaha untuk cungkil bakat baru daripada BM sendiri. Ya, itu je.
So kita kat BM ni what we dah nak tukar kita ada planning called Tangkis 2030. So this is where kita nak focus on kita punya feeders, our grassroots sport, grassroots badminton all the way up to. That's why for us kita nak spend more money and resources to develop young players. Because sekarang ni kalau kita tengok players kita memang banyak bergantung kepada support system yang either the family ataupun the club, dia tak ada. So kita punya pilihan tu agak limited. Walaupun gitu we've been lucky because we still have national players who are at the world stage level. I think badminton is one of the few sports, one of the few sukan yang kita ada atlet di peringkat dunia. Right? Berbanding dengan setengah sukan lain lah. Yeah, so kita ada macam sekarang ni ada World Championship. Kita banyak Malaysian yang qualify for World Championship. Yeah, so we need to continue, and that's because banyak juniors lah sebenarnya kita dah expose. So dari segi disiplin tu now I'm strengthening. So what I did was together with the council members, semua player Malaysia sekarang kena duduk dalam akademi. Dulu dia orang kat luar, so tak ada semangat team tu, tak ada, and then juga disiplin tu kurang lah. Macam you all lah malam-malam, you gimana?
Saya main badminton.
Malam-malam suka keluar pergi terlepak kopi, kita tarik. So kita dalam you nak jadi world standard ni, malam tidur awal, bangun pukul 5. So we want them to be together, and they see, and then bila seniors pula kena main role duduk juga, so that the juniors can see the seniors how they be, and they set example. So for me, and then sekarang ni kita buat program-program tournament banyak sikit untuk sekolah ni level. Because tournament ni banyak you can find talent and also exposure. You know lah, sports ni kalau you main sama dengan main dengan tournament lain tu. Kadang-kadang kita put national players lawan dengan non-national players, kadang dia boleh kalah tu. Ke pressure tu lain kan. So tournament ni so we need more of that from the school level. So kita menambahkan lagi tournament ni, dan kita sekarang pun tengah fikir about the national league for badminton.
Saya tanya nombor satu. Sebab tadi masalah yang daripada segi pool talent tu kan. Maknanya program tadi tu program direct kepada sekolah-sekolah ke macam mana? Bawah MSN ke ataupun
MSN maju sekarang kan tak di bawah MSSM, macam sekarang ada semua lah. Tapi dia ada MMSD, MSD sama. So kita ada badminton tu kita bagi exposure. Cuma apa yang kita nak buat ialah kita nak buat melalui our state BA, State Badminton Council, semua buat juga tournament on top of apa yang dibuat oleh Kementerian Pendidikan ataupun Kementerian Belia dan Sukan. Satu lagi kita buat jadi dedicated sikit. And then, kalau nak sekarang pun kita nak mulakan buat ranking untuk players.
Ranking national ranking.
Kita tak ada. So, baru nak start semua ni.
Maknanya saya boleh kata yang national league boleh jadi kenyataan lah dalam masa setahun dua ni.
Saya target 2028.
Okay, so nice.
Okay.
So that's true. We have seen an enormous amount of FDI coming in right for the past 2 years. Like let's say data center lah, AI lah, kan.
Semiconductor.
Yes. But beyond the MNCs, just building factories or data centers in Malaysia due to the cheap cost of the land or the labor, right? So how could we capture this and monetize it? Like let's say to make our talent or the IP creation, or even to build our own national champion that could compete at a global scale.
Yeah.
So what should the government do or is currently doing to make this happen?
Okay, so first of all, the investment, when you say big investment, we look at total investment, because we don't look at FDI only. So when we announce total investment, the jumlah pelaburan tu is including DDI, domestic direct investment. And both, if you look at FDI and DDI, last year pun is about 50-50 tau. So it's a lot, because usually when foreign investment come in, domestic has to also support, ataupun vice versa.
Yeah.
Sometimes you big domestic investor, then foreigner will come and support, meaning the supply chain lah, the ecosystem. So this, I think wrong to just think is foreign investment, because local investors is important, if not more important than foreign investment. That's why dekat MIDA and dekat MITI and the government, we measure investment. FDI is just a part of that investment. So half of the total investment is FDI, the other half is DDI, domestic, right? And we give same treatment for those in both in terms of incentive. So apa yang we will monitor is basically, of course, the companies, both foreign and make sure one, like I said, it's not employment, create the right employment, but we also create ecosystem. So let's say company A from US datang, we must make sure yang apa yang parts that they want must come from company A from Malaysia, if possible. And then company A from Malaysia will then supply to this company A from US, but they can also supply from company A from Japan, because they produce, and they need scale. So one day they can also export, and they can be big. We have few big Malaysian companies that start from scratch. They became big because they start supplying into the ecosystem. So we encourage that. Sektor E&Es terutamanya banyak syarikat yang dah berjaya menjadi global champions Malaysia. Some are not listed. But these are important. They started by supplying with Intel, for example. Then now instead of Intel, they have supplied to many other companies like Intel. And now they export directly to US also, the US companies. So these are examples. So.
I think the problem for the MNCs is the IP, they still contains it themselves. It's not like our own talent or our own company
Cannot
get our
because
IP.
IP we have to protect lah. If this is MNC IP, we cannot take it away. So Malaysian companies have to build their IP to support those companies lah.
Okay.
Right. So the problem is when we move up their value chain, the IP becomes more complicated, more sophisticated, more expensive. So there's not as many companies that are willing to invest this. We have to encourage the government have to also support companies in Malaysia companies to spend more money on R&D, because R&D is something that can build on for the future lah. So that's why our incentive now pun is about people, because R&D is about people, it's the ideas and all that. So it's the easy way out is to just continue building and borrow whatever we just do lah. That's why when we even the sector semiconductor, we want to promote the IC design and all that, because this is where the IP is rather than just test and assembly, and advanced packaging also have the IC. Our IP sometimes is on the processors, but
more on back end lah.
More on back end, front end, but it's not. It will take time lah, but it will take a lot of investment.
Because the R&D will require a big amount, right?
A big amount.
So in your opinion, Dato Sri, would it be the GLs, the clique, or the private sector that will require the funds more?
Both lah.
Public. Okay, understood.
Ramai yang kata Tengku Zafrul ni merupakan salah seorang ahli politik yang lompat parti, ataupun kita lihat sebagai tiadanya prinsip dalam berpolitik. Seperti mana kita maklum sebelum ni, sebab daripada parti A ke parti B. So apa respon ataupun Tengku Zafrul ingin perjelaskan kepada anak-anak muda mungkin kata. The headline tiba-tiba Tengku Zafrul lompat parti. So how do we want to explain?
Kalau politik ni biasalah, kalau apa-apa berlaku dia akan ceritalah yang negatif daripada yang positif. So for me senang. To me, kalau daripada Islam masuk Kristian tu lain lah. Tapi ini dari segi politik, dari segi prinsip, kita macam syarikat lah. Kalau you join company A pergi company B, kenapa? Usually. Kadang-kadang gaji, kadang-kadang where the company is heading, kan, you think it's not the right, doesn't suit you, ataupun doesn't suit your DNA or your principle. So for me, first of all, banyak orang yang move parti, banyak orang yang move, but to me personally, yang penting ialah where do I stand in terms of my principle lah, right? Which party suits me the most. So you have to understand my history. I'm like you all know, I tak bergiat dalam politik ya, sebelum ni. 20 tahun lebih dalam sektor corporate, private sector lah. And then after that, even masuk government tu, the first 2 years tu, I was not really involved in politics. Jadi bila I involved in politics pada masa tu, naturally I went to the party that I'm a member of. Because my family banyak dalam UMNO. My brother pun ketua bahagian. And then my uncle was dulu menteri. My mother's brother also ketua bahagian. So I became a member at 18. UMNO. Because dia buka cawangan kan. So satu family. Jadi okay. So of course, I felt that, and then I can resonate. But I was not so active yet. Tapi I became active masa Menteri Kewangan dan itu the final stage masa dekat nak election. And then I became more focused on what is my ideology kan, what do I stand for in politics, and which part, and then pada masa tu I was thinking, look, I believe that Malaysia ni is a multiracial country, right? And I want to find a party that suits my principle, where I believe that Malaysia ni is, you cannot separate one race to another. Of course, we must help the Bumiputras and we must help people yang perlukan bantuan, tapi we cannot pinggirkan orang lain. I'm not saying other parties do that, but which one is the closest to it? And PKR is the only multicultural, multiracial party.
Ada lagi sama muda PSM right now.
Tapi satu, to me, I look at the leadership jugalah. We look at the company, sometimes ABC sama, tapi CNN. And I think, even to be fair, masa tu muda baru start. Dia kata apa?
Muda
bersama
belum ada. So, to me,
I understand kalau that's fair, macam mana yang mulia nak beri sepenuhnya kepada negara, that's fair untuk kata macam tu lah, untuk ambil pilih parti yang banyak lagi platform. But mungkin last sedikit tambahan, adakah yang mulia rasa berbaloi selama ni daripada sektor tu pindah ke sektor ni?
Itu satu
lepas
soalan
tengok politik macam ni?
Itulah. Itu.
Tak, just my concern because I understand you're not from there, but jauh.
Semua orang selalu tanya soalan tu. Paling yang selalu tanya soalan tu family saya. Which is a fair question, to be fair. Because dia tak faham. Because I think sometimes they make me sound stupid lah bila nak jawab ni. Because dia kata, look, dulu you dalam private sector tak payah pening macam ni. Gaji pun okay, kan? Entahlah, susah hidup you, kan? So, to me, kalau you dah commit into something, and to me, when you have done, dah close to coming to 7 years in government, right? 6 years as minister, and then 1 year now helping in through agencies dan sebagainya, through the Prime Minister's office juga. You feel that nothing beats helping buat benda yang ada difference to rakyat atau difference to the country. So I think the only platform to do that is in politics lah. So this is why it berbaloi, because that feeling of satisfaction to help, and especially when you see the result. Of course, sometimes you don't see the result. Tapi when you see the result, and as long as you feel you can contribute, I think that's important lah. But if you feel you don't have that feeling, don't do it, because it's not worth it. Because there's a lot of sacrifices, and that sacrifices, ada yang people told me sometimes ignorant ni bagus juga. You don't know what you're getting into. Then you go but all this can come out, can leave the play away. I'm not saying that I will, tapi to me, what's the worst case? The worst case is I lose or I go back to it's not so bad. Kan balik ke private sector masih lagi. So why it's not a big risk to me lah, because I don't depend on politics to live. Because alhamdulillah,
politik need you to do something lah.
Hopefully, but you must also know when to give up lah. To me, kalau you feel that you cannot contribute anymore, or your contribution is not needed, that means you lose lah, every time lose. Then Faham lah, pergilah buat benda lain pula. Because there are other ways to help the people. You can go to NGO, you can through there.
Dato' Sri, soalan extra for the audience. Will Dato' Sri akan bertanding ke naik RCI?
Patut dia tanya lah.
Bagi dia. I baru nak cakap benda tapi okey lah.
Saya jawapan yang jujur ialah yes, saya berharap dapat bertanding, but it's not my decision. It's of course in my party's PKR. So Presiden dengan Pucuk Pimpinan kena decide whether dia akan benarkan saya bertanding, dan kalau dapat bertanding saya definitely nak lah. Kalau tak dapat pun kita terima lah. Cuma harapan saya dapat bertanding.
Kalau sign target tak ada lah.
Kalau target juga terpulang pada Pucuk Pimpinan, tapi saya harap di Selangor.
Selangor.
Saya orang Selangor, jadi saya harap di Selangor. You nak tanding ke? You tak ada politik semua ni? Tak ada?
I ada tapi tak sama parti lah.
Untuk parti mana? Sama?
Saya muda.
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 Sadik lah, tapi Sadik pun tak tahu dia punya, I mean for me, I hope dia ada something right now lah, sebab sekarang dia tengah fokus family dia kata sekarang. We'll wait soon lah.
Dia dapat kat jemputan.
Itulah, Dato' Sri
Kalau dah switch off ni boleh lah dah on.